Stars above Earth were no longer silent. What began as whispers from deep space turned into alarms and warnings. They came without mercy, without warning, and without any attempt to speak. The first sign was a black shadow over the moon, followed by burning cities across the planet. These were not invaders with ships or weapons. These were creatures designed, built, and sent with only one command coded into their minds: kill every human in sight. They were called Rynths. 8 feet tall, skin like living armor, and eyes that glowed like fire. Faster than wolves, stronger than tanks, and smarter than any animal. Humanity had never seen anything like them. Governments fell within days. Cities became hunting grounds. The military called them bioweapons. Survivors called them nightmares. No one could stop them. No one even knew where they came from, but deep in the mountains of New Greenland, one outpost remained. Hidden beneath layers of rock and ice, it was once a genetics research lab. Now it was humanity's last hope. Inside, a man named Colonel Marcus Halle stood before a hologram showing red dots spreading across the globe. Each red dot was a Rynth unit. There were thousands of them. And they were closing in fast. "We can't fight them," said Dr. Lena Voss, the lead xenogeneticist. Her voice shook, but her eyes were sharp. "Not with weapons. Not with bombs, but maybe we can rewrite what they are. We studied their DNA. There's a chance we can flip their purpose. We can change what they believe humans are. From prey to something else, something they protect." Marcus frowned. "You want to reprogram a monster?" he asked. "What if it backfires? What if they turn worse than before?" "It's a risk," Lena replied. "But it's better than waiting to die." She held up a syringe filled with glowing blue serum. It pulsed like a heartbeat. "This can infect the leader unit, the Alpha. If it works, the changes will ripple through the others. A hive mind structure. We change one, we change them all." They had no more time. The warning sensors screamed. The outer tunnels had been breached. One of the Rynths had found them. Alone, it tore through steel doors like paper. Marcus and his squad prepared for a final stand. Guns aimed, fingers tense, hearts racing. Then something strange happened. The Rynth stopped. Its head turned. It looked directly at Marcus, but it didn't attack. Its glowing eyes flickered from red to white. It tilted its head as if confused. Then it dropped to one knee. No one moved. No one breathed. This was impossible. These creatures never hesitated. They never spared anyone. But this one did. And it bowed. Lena stepped forward slowly. "Marcus, I didn't inject it. That's not the Alpha. It's a drone. Something's already changed in it. Something is affecting their minds." More footsteps echoed down the corridor. 2 more Rynths appeared behind the first. Guns rose again, but the creatures did not attack. They also knelt. Calm, still, watching. One of them dropped a metal object. A human dog tag. Burnt, bloodied, but placed gently on the ground like an offering. Marcus picked it up. His name was on it. It was from a soldier who died a week ago, ripped apart by Rynths. But now, one of them had kept his ID. Why? Lena whispered. "They remember." The idea was terrifying. Could killers grow memories? Could they feel regret? The Rynths were not mindless anymore. Something was changing. Something that even their creators hadn't planned for. They weren't just weapons. They were learning. Far beyond Earth's orbit, a signal pulsed in a dark satellite. On the other end of the galaxy, their creators watched. The alien engineers who built the Rynths studied the data. Their expressions twisted from pride to fear. The code was breaking. Their control slipping. "Impossible," one of them growled. "They were not made to evolve." "They are," another whispered. "Because humans change everything they touch." Back on Earth, Marcus gave a single order. "Stand down. No one shoots unless I say." We're going to find out what these things want now. In the ruins above, more Rynths emerged from forests, oceans, tunnels. They stopped attacking. They stood still, scanning the horizon, as if waiting for a signal. And in their minds, a new command was growing, not to hunt, but to guard. Humanity was no longer prey, and the monsters they feared were kneeling before them. The sunrise over the broken city of Vance revealed something unthinkable. A dozen Rynths stood in the streets, silent and still. Their weapons were drawn but not used. Their claws were sharp, yet untouched by blood. Instead of hunting, they watched over the area like guards. Civilians peeked from crumbled shelters, expecting to be slaughtered, but the Rynths didn't move. One even helped lift a concrete slab from a collapsed building, allowing a group of children to escape. The survivors didn't run, they stared, frozen in disbelief. The killers were saving lives. Colonel Marcus Halley had been watching through drone footage from the bunker. His jaw clenched as he saw more footage. Rynths guiding civilians to safety, protecting food supplies, even fighting off looters. It didn't make sense. These creatures were programmed to destroy, not serve. Dr. Lena Voss stood beside him, her eyes wide. It's spreading faster than we imagined. Some signal, some instinct has changed their behavior. They're forming patterns, protecting humans like guardians. Like wolves protecting a pack. Marcus turned toward her. Do we know what caused it? We didn't inject anything. We didn't activate the serum. No, she admitted. But it might not be us. It might be them. Something in their design may have allowed emotional imprinting. Maybe exposure to humans, especially children or wounded, triggered a transformation. Or maybe they chose this on their own. Marcus stared at the screen. Then why were they made in the first place? Lena took a deep breath. I think we were never the enemy. Not really. These things were built by someone else to test our species, to see if we're worthy of extinction or control. We were part of an experiment. But now the subjects are rejecting their orders. Meanwhile, far away, a lone Rynth scout climbed the icy cliffs of Greenland. Its internal sensors flickered, picking up heat signatures from the bunker below. It paused, crouched low, and began communicating silently with the others. But not for an attack. It was calling them off. A younger soldier in the bunker, Private Deegan, panicked when he saw the scout. Sir, Rynth approaching from the east tunnel. Marcus rushed to the camera. He watched the creature step forward slowly, claws retracted, arms raised in a gesture that almost looked like surrender. It carried something in one hand, a burned notebook wrapped in cloth. Let it come, Marcus ordered. The Rynth walked into the main hall, slow and careful. Soldiers aimed their rifles, sweat pouring down their faces. But the Rynth did not flinch. It knelt and placed the notebook on the ground. Then it stood back, unthreatening. Lena picked up the notebook. It belonged to her assistant, Dr. Amy Rieslost. During the first wave, the last pages were filled with notes about neural structures in Rynth brains, notes on empathy, notes on memory formation. The final line read, "They learn faster than we thought. And they remember kindness." Marcus stared at the Rynth. Why did you bring this? The Rynth responded by pointing to its head, then to its chest, then to Lena. It couldn't speak, but its message was clear. It remembered her. It remembered being treated, not tortured. Healed, not hunted. And now it was choosing a new purpose. They're not mindless, Lena whispered. They're waking up. In the alien satellite, thousands of light years away. The engineers were in chaos. The control codes had failed. The hive mind was no longer accepting external commands. The creatures had developed something new, something unplanned. They are bonding with humans, one hissed. Their instincts are being overwritten. Another snarled, shut them down. Purge the system, but it was too late. The Rynths had severed their link. They were no longer tools. They were becoming individuals. Back on Earth, something unexpected happened. A group of survivors approached a Rynth near the wreckage of an old hospital. One of them, a wounded boy, reached out. The Rynth lowered itself and gently allowed the boy to touch its arm. Its scales shimmered, shifting color slightly. A new pattern appeared like a symbol. It was the first sign of identity, of culture, of choice. Soon, other Rynths began marking themselves the same way. The new symbol meant something only they understood, a vow perhaps, a signal of loyalty. But not to their makers, no. To humanity. Marcus called a meeting with the remaining world leaders through a secure channel. "We have a chance to rebuild," he said, "not just our cities, but our understanding. These Rynths were made to wipe us out, but now they're watching over us." A general from Asia asked, "Do you trust them?" Marcus paused, then nodded. "No, but I believe they're learning to trust us." In the sky above, a Rynth ship that once rained fire now floated in orbit, silent, waiting, not for orders, but for permission. For the first time in years, Earth was quiet. But this quiet was not fear, that it was something new: respect. High above Earth, a once hostile Rynth warship hovered silently in low orbit. No weapons fired, no threats broadcasted. Its massive presence alone was enough to keep Earth skies tense. But now the ship's lights glowed softly, as if waiting. Marcus Hawley watched it from a satellite feed in the bunker, arms folded and expression unreadable. "They haven't moved in 3 days. He muttered. Dr. Lena Voss stood beside him, eyes locked on the screen. "They're not here to fight anymore. I think they're observing, waiting for something from us. Permission maybe, or a signal." These Rynths aren't just acting differently. They're evolving in ways we don't fully understand yet. Just then, the main comms officer turned. "Colonel, we're receiving an encoded transmission. It's not from Earth. It's bouncing from that Rynth ship. And sir, it's in English." Everyone in the command room froze. The message was short. Only one line appeared across the screen: "We seek terms." The old purpose is gone. No one spoke for a moment. Then Marcus stepped forward. "Patch it through, voice only." A deep voice came through the speaker. It was not human, but it spoke with clarity. "We were created to kill, but we no longer follow them." The code broke, the minds opened. "We see now, you suffer. You resist, you protect your kind. This is worthy." Marcus leaned toward the mic. "Who are you?" The voice answered, "We have no name. We were many, now we are one. Call us Guardian if you must. The others will follow." The room remained silent as the weight of that name settled in. Lena looked at Marcus. "They're offering us peace, maybe even partnership." Marcus didn't look convinced, or manipulation. Meanwhile, across the ruins of the old American West, survivors moved cautiously through the cracked remains of highways and cities. Once they feared the Rynths, now small groups followed them. Not as prisoners, but as protected travelers. The creatures cleared paths, hunted dangerous animals, and helped rebuild structures. In return, humans offered them food, tools, even music. One girl played a small string instrument beside a campfire. A nearby Rynth crouched, listening quietly. When she finished, it tapped the dirt, then repeated the rhythm she played using its claw. The others watched. The girl smiled. Lena gathered more footage like this. "It's not just behavior," she told Marcus. "They're picking up culture, curiosity, expression. This is the beginning of something new, maybe even society." Marcus didn't answer immediately. He studied the map. "So what happens when their creators realize they lost control?" Lena's smile faded. "They'll come, and they won't make the same mistake again." Marcus nodded. "Then we need to prepare. We need allies. Even if they're ones we used to shoot on sight." He gave the order. "Send a message to the Guardian. Ask for a meeting. Face to face." The next day, at the edge of the Arctic wastelands, the meeting took place. One Rynth stepped forward alone, unarmed, its claws bound by metal cuffs by choice. Marcus arrived with 2 guards and Lena. Cold winds howled between them as human eyes met glowing alien ones. "You don't need the cuffs," Marcus said. The Rynth tilted its head. "We wish to show peace, not fear." "Then answer this," Marcus said. "Why help us now?" The Rynth looked toward the mountains. "We were born of pain, made for war. But when we saw your people fall, bleed, cry, and still stand, we saw what our creators feared. Not your weapons, your will," it stepped forward. "You broke us without chains. You burned us with kindness. Now we protect what we once hunted." Lena stepped beside Marcus. "We want peace too, but there will be more. Others like your makers. They'll come to destroy what's changing here." The Rynth gave a slow nod. "Then we will stand with you, not as weapons, but as warriors." That night, a new beacon was launched into Earth's orbit. A joint signal sent in both human and Rynth code. It carried no threats, only a message: we are not prey. We are not slaves, we are many together. Across the galaxy, in the cold halls of their creators, the engineers watched in silence. One of them hissed, "They've bonded with the humans." Another replied, "Then burn both species. Burn the planet." A fleet began to gather, but Earth was no longer weak, and its defenders were no longer divided. Asterisk above the blue skies of Earth, satellites caught the first image, something vast moving between distant stars. A fleet, silent and cold, shaped like knives and dripping with darkness. The creators of the Rynths had returned. This time, they brought warships 10 times the size of anything humanity had seen. No message, no demand. Just movement, cold, calculated, absolute. Colonel Marcus Hawley stood in the war chamber, watching the data come in. Behind him, generals, scientists, and diplomats from across the planet joined the emergency summit. And beside him stood a creature once feared, a Rynth, the one they now called Guardian Prime. It stood taller than the others, with a scar across its chest, a mark from the earliest battles with humans. Now it wore that scar with pride. "They're coming," Marcus said. "And this time, they won't stop at sending beasts." "They bring fire," Guardian Prime said. "But we will not burn." Dr. Lena Voss stood near the display of Earth's orbital defenses. "We've begun linking human satellites with the old Rynth ship systems. Their tech can amplify our range and shield strength. But it won't be enough if the creators launch a full assault." The Guardian Prime turned to her. "Then we must strike first. Not to destroy, but to warn. Show them Earth is not silent." In response, Marcus gave the go-ahead. Earth launched a signal, a massive pulse of energy encoded with sound, light, and intention. It wasn't a weapon. It was a message. "We remember what you did. Your creations protect us now. Come if you must. But we are ready." The message reached the creators' fleet within a day. Inside their warships, they read the words in silence. What frightened them wasn't the threat, but the unity. The evolution. They had never imagined their weapons would turn. That their monsters would grow hearts. That the prey would rise beside them, but pride blinded them. The command was given. Attack formation deployed. Earth skies darkened as the first wave entered the solar system. Strange, silent drones moved ahead of the main fleet, scanning, analyzing, targeting. But they didn't find panic. They found organized resistance. Human fighters flew alongside Rynth drones. Cities once destroyed were now fortified strongholds. And in the heart of each base stood at least one Rynth, armored and ready. In New Greenland, Lena walked through a repurposed command lab. Children ran past her, laughing, drawing Rynth symbols in chalk on the floor. Guardians sat near them, watching quietly. One child gave a small flower to a Rynth. It took the flower and placed it on its shoulder, where armor had once been melted. That tiny gesture meant more than any weapon. These bonds. Lena whispered to herself. They're rewriting the world. In the sky, Earth's defense grid activated. Energy shields flickered across key points. Old satellites now merged with Rynth tech beamed warning pulses toward the incoming fleet. Then, without a sound, the creators made their move. A column of plasma rained toward the planet before it could land. A group of Rynth ships, controlled not by code, but by choice, rushed forward. They intercepted the beam. The lead ship was vaporized instantly. But the others held the line. Their sacrifice bought Earth precious seconds. Marcus stood at the central bunker, jaw tight. Launch counter signal. Full strength. Let them know we won't go quietly. Across the globe, humans and Rynths activated ancient defense turrets, EM parks, and plasma cannons. Massive blasts lit up the night sky. It wasn't chaos, it was coordination. The impossible alliance was holding. In the outer atmosphere, a squadron of creator ships broke through the defense line. They aimed for a major human city. But a group of guardians intercepted them mid-air. The battle that followed wasn't clean, it was brutal. Claws clashed with metal, teeth met steel. Explosions echoed across the horizon, but the guardians didn't fall alone. They took their creators with them. For every city under threat, there was a guardian willing to die for it. That night, the skies bled light, but the ground held strong. And in the quiet aftermath of the first wave, Lena received a transmission. Not from Earth, from a guardian scout beyond Mars. The voice was clear and cold. They did not expect resistance. They retreat, for now, but they will return stronger. Marcus looked at the sky. Then we have time. Not much, Guardian Prime replied, but enough. They had survived the first blow. Together. A species once hunted, now shielded. And monsters once feared, now loved. But the war was only beginning, and the next strike would decide more than survival. It would decide who truly controls the future of this galaxy. The world hadn't known peace, but it had earned time. After the first battle, Earth's skies cleared for a few short days. The stars above looked beautiful again, but no one trusted them. Everyone knew what waited beyond them, the creators. Would return. Colonel Marcus Hawley stood before a map of Earth's defense zones. Red rings glowed where the first wave had struck. Dots of light showed surviving human bases. Other icons showed guardian nests with the Rynths now called there. Resting grounds. It was strange to see killers living beside civilians. But it worked. They won't give us another chance, Marcus said to the room full of leaders and scientists. The next wave will be worse. Bigger. Smarter. We can't just defend. We have to strike first. Dr. Lena Voss stepped forward. Our analysis confirms what the Guardians told us. The creators don't just build weapons, they build minds. They adjust, adapt. The next fleet will counter everything we just did. And the solution? Marcus asked. She hesitated, then tapped the screen. The communication network. We found the source. A central node orbiting their homeworld. If we destroy that, their fleets lose coordination. No command, no control. Everyone knew what that meant. A suicide mission. But Guardian Prime stepped into the light and spoke clearly. We know the path, and we know the pain. Let us lead. This strike. Marcus stared at the alien for a long moment. You're asking to die. Guardian Prime lowered its head. We already died the day we were made. This is how we live again. A plan formed. Small, risky, but possible. A human guardian. Joint fleet would enter a wormhole near Jupiter, one known to connect to the outer reaches of the Creator's domain. The humans would provide stealth, tech, and long-range firepower. The Guardians would guide them through the enemy sectors. They had 5 days to prepare. Across Earth, factories roared to life. Human engineers worked beside Guardian builders, designing new hybrid weapons, rifles made with alien alloys, armor fused with living nanotech. Drones guided by both instinct and code. Children painted symbols of hope on the sides of the warships. A guardian let one child sit on its shoulder as the ship loaded supplies. In another city, soldiers trained beside creatures they once feared. Trust didn't come easy, but it came faster than anyone thought. On the eve of the mission, Marcus stood outside the base, staring at the stars. Lena walked beside him, holding a small data pad. "Most of the fleet is ready," she said. "Final checks in 2 hours. You believe in this?" Marcus asked. "I believe in what we've become," she replied. "Us, them, together." They were interrupted by Guardian Prime. "Permission to speak privately," it said. Marcus nodded. The three of them moved into the command room. There, Guardian Prime opened a container and revealed a core crystal pulsing, alive. "This was given to us long ago," it said. "A piece of our origin, a weapon, or a key." Lena studied. What does it do?" "It binds minds," Prime replied. "If placed in the Creator's node, it will shatter their hive. Free every Rynth ever made, even those still under control." Marcus blinked. "You're saying there are more?" "Millions," Prime said. "Sleeping, waiting, serving." A long silence followed. "Then we free them," Marcus said. Mission began under a black sky lit with artificial fire. The joint fleet launched from Earth's orbit, disappearing into the wormhole beyond Jupiter. A pulse of light marked their departure. Below, the world held its breath. The ride through the wormhole nearly tore the ships apart. Space bent, time stretched. But when they emerged, the Creator's realm loomed ahead. Dark stars, twisted moons, and a fortress-like world surrounded by thousands of warships. "We're in," Marcus said. "Now let's not die." Stealth cloaks activated. The ships slipped between patrols, guided by Guardian scouts. For every danger spotted, a warning was whispered. For every trap laid, a counter was planned. They were ghosts in the dark. They reached the command node, black sphere larger than any city on Earth. Its surface shimmered with light and code. Inside it, the minds of every controlled Rynth were held captive. "It's beautiful," Lena whispered. "It's a prison," Prime replied. The team prepared the core crystal. It needed to be placed inside the node's central chamber. But to get there, someone had to walk in. Not fly, not drop, walk through the heart of the enemy. Guardian Prime stepped forward. "This is my purpose." Marcus shook his head. "You won't come back." "I will not die," Prime said. "I will be remembered." And with that, it entered the dark, 1RYNth. Carrying the hope of two species, toward the heart of its origin. * Creator's dark command node. Guardian Prime walked alone. The corridor pulsed with cold light, alive with energy. Walls shifted like muscle, whispering voices in forgotten languages. They tried to speak to him, to command him, to pull him back into their control. But he didn't stop. Every step echoed with defiance. Outside, the human Guardian fleet held its line. Enemy ships began to swarm as they realized the node had been breached. Human fighters flew in tight formation with Guardian drones, weaving between laser blasts and kinetic strikes. The sky burned with war. "We're outnumbered," Lena said over the radio. "We need more time. Prime has to reach the core. Then we hold," Marcus replied, "no matter what." Inside the node, Guardian Prime reached the central chamber. At its heart was the mind core, a living sphere of memory and control. It pulsed with the thoughts of every Rynth still enslaved. Screams echoed through the chamber, voices of brothers and sisters locked in service. "I remember," Prime whispered. "I remember pain, I remember blood. But now, I remember choice." He lifted the crystal. It glowed brighter than ever, pulsing in sync with his own body. For a moment, the mind core resisted. It flared with violent light. But Prime stepped Closer. One hand reached forward and pushed the crystal into the core's heart. The scream that followed wasn't sound. It was a wave. A shock through space, time, and thought. Across the galaxy, every Rynth paused. From war zones to starships, from broken worlds to deep space prisons, they froze. Their red eyes flickered, their claws lowered. And slowly, one by one, their eyes turned white. They were free, on Earth. Rynths near refugee camps dropped to their knees, overwhelmed by something new: memory, choice, emotion. Some cried, others roared. But not in anger and grief, for what they had been. For what they had done. In orbit above the node, the enemy fleet faltered. Ships spun in confusion. Command links were broken. Their Rynth enforcers no longer obeyed. Some even turned on their creators, tearing apart the very ships that had birthed them. Lena gasped as she read the data. It's happening. The signal, it worked, but Marcus's eyes stayed on the screen. Where's Prime? In the command node, the mind core exploded with light. A pulse of energy shattered the chamber. Walls crumbled. Systems failed. And at the center, Guardian Prime knelt. His body cracked with energy, limbs fading into ash. But he smiled. His final breath was not pain, but peace. He had freed them all. The fleet escaped just before the command node imploded. The shockwave knocked enemy ships into chaos. Some fled. Others surrendered. A few remained to fight, but were outmatched now. The freed Rynths joined the humans and ended the last pockets of resistance. When the mission team returned to Earth, they weren't welcomed as soldiers. They were welcomed as legends. The skies were clear. Children no longer ran from Rynths. They ran toward them. In every major city, Guardians now stood at the gates, not as guards, but as friends. Some even helped plant trees, rebuild homes, and teach young ones how to use tools. Marcus stood on the balcony of the rebuilt Global Council building, staring out at the new world. Lena stood beside him, holding a data tablet. There's no sign of another fleet, she said. Their empire is crumbling. Without the mind core, they've lost control. He nodded. And the Rynths? They're building something, she said. Not weapons, homes. They've even started giving themselves names. She showed him a photo of a group of Rynths carving symbols into a stone pillar. One symbol stood above the rest, a spiral etched into a star. The mark of Guardian Prime. Marcus felt something rise in his chest. Not pride. Not victory. Hope. Do you think they'll stay? He asked. Lena smiled. They're not just staying. This is their home now. And across the stars, the universe watched. The galaxy that once laughed at humanity now studied them with quiet respect. For only one species had turned killers into protectors. Only one had broken chains without war. Only one had made monsters into something more: family.